find that in your intimate relationships, you long for connection, you long for intimacy, and you may share that with your partner and try to share it with them in different ways, but instead you end up pushing your partner away? Or do you find that you want to be open or more vulnerable or more connected with your partner, but find it difficult to do so? Or even this, you may hear from your partner that you're not emotionally available, or there are aspects of you that they don't have access to, and they're just wanting more from you, and you're not really understanding what they're talking about. Do you ever wonder why you cope with emotional distress the way that you do? Well, attachment styles may give you a piece of the puzzle. Today, we are going to be talking about adult attachment styles made easy. Hi, I'm Rhonda Brown, registered nurse, counselor, marriage and family therapist, and relationship coach. And welcome to the Art of Connection Therapy channel, where we talk about, you got it, connection. Connection to who? Connection to what? Connection to God, connection to ourselves, and connection to others, so we can begin to move toward having the kind of relationships that we were created for. So what are attachment styles? Well, in a nutshell, attachment styles are the ways that we relate to others in relationships, especially intimate relationships. Attachment styles also help us to form the kind of expectations that we have of our partners in our relationships. Attachment styles are typically formed from the time we are very young, when we are babies, when we are children. And what it is it's formed by the way that our primary caregivers or primary caregiver responds to our needs. So for example, say you have a baby that is crying, and the primary caregiver, either mother or father, whoever the primary caregiver is of that child, responds to the child's needs. And how they respond to the child's needs on a consistent basis then helps the child to create what is called their attachment style. And again, as the child grows up in repeated interactions with their primary caregivers and other figures as well, then determines how they, what they expect in intimate relationships. So as you know, we're very unique individuals, right? God creates us as unique individuals, and we all respond to things in different ways. Well, it's the same thing with our primary caregivers. They can respond to us when we were children in different ways. And so how the caregiver responds to you a lot of times determines or shapes the person's attachment style. Now, there are 4 different types of attachment styles that they have right there. And when I say attachment styles, I'm talking about adult attachment styles that are usually formed from the time that you are a child. The first attachment style is the secure attachment style. And that style is, again, it's called secure because that is when you have a primary caregiver or caregivers typically respond to a child's needs on a consistent basis. So I'm going to use an infant or a toddler who may be crying for whatever reason. The toddler or the baby is crying. The primary caregiver, we're going to say the mom in this case, the mom then in a secure attachment responds to that child's needs. So they hear the child crying. They hear that. They make sense of it or try to make sense of it. Like, is this child hungry? Is the child thirsty? Is the child needs their diaper changed? Do they just need to be held? You try to make sense of it. And then the parent or the caregiver responds to the child. When that is done consistently, then that child then develops a secure attachment style because they had an adult who, or adults, sometimes it's more than one, who consistently responded to their emotional needs. So one who has a secure attachment style in relationships and intimate relationships, they tend to be secure in their relationships. That's why it's called the secure attachment style. And to be secure typically means that they exude confidence. They say what they want and need in relationships. They're not afraid to ask for what they want and what they need. And they're also able to hear their partner's wants and needs and respond to that, because again, they grew up or had many experiences where their needs were met, where they were able to be seen. And so now they can see themselves and see others and respond to others. So that's the first attachment style. It's called the secure attachment style. The other attachment style that I want to talk about is the anxious attachment style, also known as the preoccupied attachment style, or some people call it the ambivalent attachment style. With someone who demonstrates the anxious attachment style, they typically had in their childhood where their emotional needs weren't met on a consistent basis. So for example, let's take the child again, or the toddler, or the baby. We'll take the child on the playground who falls, scrapes their knees, and goes to their parent, or maybe they don't even go to their parent. Their parent sees them crying, sees that they scraped their knees. And so the parent then cleans up the wound, does everything they need to do, and also comforts the child emotionally. Maybe holds them, hugs them, reassures them that things will be okay, things of that nature, right? So the child's needs have been met, emotional needs have been met by their primary caretaker or caregivers. But then let's say maybe the following week or the following month, the child then falls again on the playground. But this time, the same caregivers respond very differently. They don't respond by taking care of the emotional need. Maybe they'll just take care of the physical need, give them the Band-Aid, send them back out to the playground. Or they don't even respond to them at all. So the inconsistency of their needs being met, what happens to the anxious the person who has the anxious attachment style is that now they begin to think that their needs won't be consistently met because they weren't. And so they tend to think that the love that they may get from adults when they grow up is not reliable, that people aren't reliable, that they won't have their needs met consistently. And so then what tends to show up outwardly is that they appear to be clingy. They appear that they really want to know everything that's going on. And it makes sense, again, if in the back of your mind or subconsciously, there's the thought that your needs will not be met, or the person that you're with can't love you, you become so preoccupied with that. Are they going to meet my needs? Are they going to meet my needs? They said they were going to go out with me. Now they're not going out with me. They said they're going to call me. They haven't called me. And all this anxiety comes up because you wonder if you will continually get that love that you're seeking and wanting. So those with anxious styles of attachment tend to appear very clingy. They tend to be overly focused on their relationships and or their partners and whether or not their partners will meet their emotional needs. And they tend to crave intimacy and crave connection, again, because subconsciously there are voices or thoughts or experiences for them that they have gone through that tells them that they may not get the love that they need consistently. And so that's what you may see with someone who displays an anxious attachment style. And then we have the avoidant attachment style. With the avoidant attachment style, what that may look like with the child that grows up is that their parents may not have met their emotional needs at all. Or if they did, very, very seldomly. So let's take the example of the child on the playground. They go on the playground, they're playing, they fall, they scrape their knee. That adult or that caregiver or caregivers may respond to the child's needs. Get the wound cleaned up, put a Band-Aid on there, put some Neosporin on there, whatever they need to do to attend to the wound. but they do not attend to the child's emotional needs. So there's no comfort there. There's no assurance there for the child. And so the child then learns at a very early age. And again, these experiences that the children go through, they tend to be repetitive throughout their lives with their primary caregivers. It's not just a one-time thing. And so when that happens repeatedly, subconsciously, that child learns that most people will not be there for me emotionally. I cannot rely on people to have my emotional needs met. I cannot depend on them. Therefore, I will not. And what also tends to happen with that is when they shut that down, that emotional need down, they also become shut down to their own emotional needs. Because now to feel that need is to feel the pain of not having that need met. It brings them back to their childhood when they did not have that need met and the pain that was associated with that. So the avoidant, the person who has the avoidant attachment style may appear to be emotionally distant, cold. Sometimes the partners say that they can't reach them, or that they're not sharing everything, and they do that for good reason. It's a way that their brains have to just shut off the desire, the emotional need, because it is too painful. They have never or very seldomly had their emotional needs met. And so this is how they develop. This is the attachment style that tends to develop to say, I don't need anyone emotionally. I will remain cold. I will remain distant. Again, subconsciously, no one is saying this. Very seldomly are people saying that I'm going to go ahead and do this. This is subconsciously. I'm going to shut down all emotion. You will not have access to my emotions. And what happens is neither does the person. So that's what happens with the avoidant, the person that displays the avoidant attachment style. The last attachment style that we have is the disorganized attachment style. And that is when that child may have grown up in a very turbulent type of environment where there was neglect, either abuse, such as maybe physical abuse. Maybe you had parents or primary caregivers that were abused substances, things of that nature. And so the child was maybe neglected physically and or emotionally, and that was done repeatedly. And what happens is that that child may then grow up to display an attachment style of having of a disorganized attachment style. And so in relationships, they tend to look very turbulent, very erratic, because what happened is that when that child grew up in that environment, again, very unstable, very tumultuous, their primary caregiver, which is who you would go to get your emotional needs met, is also the person that's causing you terror, either through neglect or abuse or whatever chaotic situation that's happening. So to that child's brain, it's like, well, wait a minute, I'm supposed to be going to this person to be able to meet my emotional needs or my physical needs, but I can't go to this person as well because this is the person who's causing me a lot of conflict and terror and horror even through the different situations that are happening. So then that child may grow up again to display a disorganized style of attachment in relationships where they have a tumultuous time or a hard time really connecting and maintaining that connection in their intimate relationships as an adult. So those are the four attachment styles. And as you can hear me saying through this video, I say styles. It's a style of attachment. It's not something that you want to label yourself with. You do want to get awareness or have awareness of it, but you don't want to label yourself. It's a style. And with it being a style, that's good news, because with a style, just like any other style, you can change it. Just because maybe in your past experiences, your emotional needs were met sometimes and not met or weren't met at all, doesn't mean that as an adult, it has to remain that way. the styles can be changed. One of the ways that it can be changed is through professional help. Another way that it can be changed is simply through awareness. And so once you have awareness, then you can get the help that you need. And once you get the help that you need, then you can have someone to help you walk through the steps needed to go from being to go from having rather an insecure attachment style to a more secure attachment style. It is possible, it is doable, and people have moved from insecure to secure in their attachment styles. A lot of times it's very difficult to do without any help or without any awareness. Not to say that it's impossible, but it is possible, it is doable, especially if you have help in doing that. The last thing I want to say about attachment styles is that these are tendencies and they may not be a perfect fit. Human beings are extremely complex because the one who's created us, the master, has put a lot into creating us. So it's never a one size fits all. However, you may find that you lean toward one type of attachment style over the other. Now that we've learned a little bit, kind of the quick and dirty about adult attachment styles, definitely check out my other video that I have coming up about how to spot an attachment style in a dating relationship. That's another thing to talk about because we have ways of coping and dealing and wanting to get our expectations met in relationships, and so do our partners. And knowing your attachment style is half the battle. Being able to identify which other person you may want to be with and their attachment style to see if that would be a good fit for you, that's another conversation to have. So check out my other video about how to spot the different attachment styles in dating and determining if that works for you or not in your relationships. So my friends, that about wraps it up for attachment styles. If you found this video helpful, you can do 3 things. You can like and subscribe, you can hit the notification bell, and you can also check out my website at www.theartofconnectiontherapy.com. Thanks for watching. See you next time. And remember, connection is an art worth mastering. Take care.